Hey, what it do, crew? Just wanted to jump on, man. I said I was gonna talk about the black woman as God, so I just want to go ahead and jump into that. Like I said, I would do. First of all, when I think about God and I think about everything that God provides us, you almost can't help but to connect, the feminine energy and the black woman to the Creator, the Most High, our Sustainer. When you think about where everybody on the face of the earth, how they got to be in this physical plane, they had to go through a woman for that. And then as an infant human, you need your mom to basically feed you, you know, take care of you, love on you, all of those things for you to be able to grow up. Your mom is your very first teacher. So just when you look at the woman, it's just hard to dispute the fact that the woman is God. And I guess what I would like to do real quick is to just put in the word God in Google. It says, the word God here, according to Wikipedia, says, in monotheistic thought, God is conceived of as the supreme being, creator, deity, and principal object of faith. God is usually conceived as being omniscient. What does it say here? Omniscient, omniscient, which is all knowing, omnipotent, all powerful, omnipresent, all present, and is having an eternal and necessary existence. These attributes are used either in way of analogy or are taken literally. God is most often held to be incorporeal, which is immaterial. Incorporeality and corporeality of God are related to concepts of transcendence, being outside of nature, immanence, being in nature, of God, with positions of synthesis such as the immanent transcendence. So just being in and out of nature. A lot of that I probably didn't even have to really read, but I just wanted to read the definition of God since I'm talking about the woman as God. But so I guess where I would like to go from here is just to point out the fact that I got some notes. I'd like to point out the fact that in today's world, it's pretty much a patriarchal society that we live in right now. All this world right now talks about is the man is this and the man is that, and be a real man. Stop being a pussy. Stop being a sissy. Those are all related to females. When you start talking about being a pussy, being a sissy, all that kind of thing, faggot, is a negative connotation surrounded around men acting like girls or like acting homosexual or whatever. And to me, when I really sit back and look at it, man, all of those attributes are attributes that were introduced by the European, the Greeks. All of these attributes were introduced by the Europeans. So for some of us to really get on here and be like, what? The woman is God, man, dude. What is your problem, man? Like you're crazy. You're crazy. You know, I can understand why someone would say that, especially on our app, why someone would say that, because many of us have been indoctrinated into the Europeans' way of living, so just the thought that a woman is to be praised and worshiped, and protected and honored, those things are very uncomfortable for a lot of us because we've been indoctrinated into a patriarchal society, a society that was introduced to us by the European. So of course that's how we feel. I was reading something, and I hope I might still have it on my tablet. I was reading something. Let me see. No, that ain't right. I was reading something that Okay, before I pull it up, let me get my sentence out. I was reading something that Herodotus said, and Herodotus is a Greek that probably studied. I can verify, but he studied in Kemet, and he gives homage to the black woman. But I don't want to just say it. If I can pull it up, and that would be great. Then I can basically read it for you. The black woman is God. You know what? I'll let y'all do the research on that, and y'all can pound me if you want and just tell me to find it. Then I'll just find it. But I don't want to take too much time on this post. But Herodotus, who studied in Egypt, in Kemet, he also verified that the black woman is God. A black woman is to be worshiped, honored, treasured. All the things that we attribute to showing respect to is what we need to be doing to the woman, because after all, she was the one who gave us life. So from there, I wanted to read a couple of scriptures just to back up my statements of how our society now devalues women. And let me go back to that. I'm gonna pull up 1 Timothy 2:11-12. 1 Timothy 2:11-12, and I'm gonna read it. Okay, 1 Timothy 2:11-12. I think this is the King James Version, but I've already read it from the King James Version, so it's going to say the same thing. So y'all can read it from the King James Version. Yeah, this is the King James Version. Okay, it says, let me see if I can let y'all see that. Y'all can see that. It says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Okay. So that's a scripture that supports what I just said about how our society devalues women, how we look down on women. If I go to 1 Corinthians 14, 34 and 35, I believe. Yep. It says here, let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also said the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in church. Okay, so that scripture is interesting because all of us grew up in a church where women pretty much dominated it. You know what I'm saying? There's another scripture, 1 Timothy 2:9, where it talks about how the women shouldn't dress provocatively and things like that and wear gold and silver and things like that. She should be modest in her dress. You guys can look that up for yourself. Why am I pointing that out? Because we talk about the state of our situation currently as Black people. We talk about, me and Scratch get on here all the time and we talk about how the Christian religion has been given to us, this European ideology and way of life has been given to us by our oppressor. So why would we take something that our oppressor has given us and run with it like it's golden, like it's, the way to do things? Why would we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to at least reach back and learn about where we come from, learn our ancestry, learn the way we used to live our life. Our ancestors used to live their lives. How come we can't have an understanding that is the way that we need to live in order for us to be fully empowered, for our energy that God gave us to be completely utilized so that we can maximize our abilities, our knowledge, our wisdom, our understanding, our comfort, our balance. It's just, we're so off balance as a people. Even the way we eat, it has really done a number on us, and there's studies out there that show that the same type of nourishment and medicines and herbal things that we need as Black people are a lot of times different from what white people need. When you talk about different products that we use for our hair, our skin, it's different from white people. We're just different people. We just need different things in order to be strong. We're sun people, that's why our skin is dark. I mean, a lot of this, I know you guys know this, but I just want to point this out to give a full representation of where I stand. We're sun people. That's why we have dark skin. That's why we have melanin. When you talk about carbon, carbon is basically the building blocks of a Black man, Black people. So when you throw that into the equation, you have to ask yourself, why is it that we accept a European ideology, a European way of life, and feel that's just golden, that's just what life is, that's just how we're supposed to live our life, it's not. And when you look at the patriarchal system that we live in and you say, okay, well, we worship in man and man is the greatest and man is this and man is that. And you look back and you find that our ancestors praised the woman, upheld the women, valued her, loved her, protected her. Why are we going in another direction? So that's just a question, just a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that. But anyway, so those are just 3 scriptures that I wanted to read. There's so many more, but I just wanted to read those 3 scriptures to support the question of why are women so devalued in our society, Okay, so I also added here too that when you talk about the laws of Ma'at, the laws of Ma'at basically represent harmony and balance. The negative confessions. It's so funny, and I don't know if you guys can feel what I feel on this. Maybe not. Probably not. Scratch probably can feel what I'm saying, but when you read those negative confessions, it just does something to you the way you read it, as opposed to when you read the 10 Commandments. It's just different. You're actually stating what you have not done. I have not done this. And there's some, we're not perfect. So there's some things where we fall short. But when you read the negative confessions, it does something to you from a motivational perspective. It's motivating to read what you have not done that you can look at and say is not healthy to the spirit, that doesn't support a negative energy. I have not done this. I have not done that. So I bring up Ma'at because that is a female, that's a female energy that our ancestors lived by, so that's why I bring that up. There's some historians. I'm going to throw these names out because y'all can look them up, to just kind of give some validity to some of the things I'm saying. A historian, Bob Breyer, he's an Egyptologist. And then you got Hoyt Hobbs, and he's author of this book called Land of the Nile. That's not the title of the book. Hold on. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Nope, don't want to erase that. Hold on, let me see if I can get it on this one. Fellas, I give y'all that title later. I don't want to erase what I got up here. So, I think it's called Land of the Nile. You can look it up. Bob Breyer and Hoyt Hobbs, and they basically, what the book describes is just the everyday lifestyle of the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians back in the day. So it kind of gives you a little perspective on how they lived their life, some of their beliefs, some of the, the way they ate, the way they connected, as a family. When you talk about, the man, the woman, and the child, So y'all can look that up. Another question that I wanted to ask too is why did our ancestors value women so much? What was the reason? And along with all the knowledge that they had with math, science, the way they were able to keep track of time through using the stars and the different groups of stars. One would conclude that our ancient ancestors were like super intelligent. They were technologically advanced, So you got a people that knew so much, that were so advanced, that were so knowledgeable. Yet these people that had so much knowledge had a great value for women. How could that be? How could that be? It's just interesting for me. They understood that women represents life, sustainability, they're the giver of life, what's not to be worshipped, what's not to be respected, about what a woman provides to all of us, So anyway. So, listen to some of the brothers, we've been looking at a lot of videos and stuff. And the one thing I like to do is in the videos kind of go back behind those guys and kind of do a little research on some of the things they say. And, I've been doing that the past few months, and a lot of it just makes a lot of sense to me, So, where I want to go next is I want to read Genesis 5. Genesis 5. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in here real quick. Genesis 5. King James Version. We're going to stick with King James on this one here. Okay. So when you read Genesis 5, I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but it says, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So, when God created man, and a lot of us just assume that when God created man, that it was just automatically a male, you know. But when God created man, this scripture clearly shows us that he created male and female. He created them, and blessed them and called their name Adam. He called their name Adam. He didn't say, okay, here's man, your name is Adam. Okay. And then here's Eve. Here's the womb, man. And your name is Adam too. Like, that's not what he didn't say. He created man, male, and called him Adam. And then he created womb man and called her Adam. That's not what this scripture says. It says he created male and female, created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So the way I look at that, or the way I receive that, is that when he called their name Adam, and E double just put something up here talking about the Bible speaking in parables and everything, and this is where I am with it. I look at this as a symbolic scripture, so taking that into consideration, I can look at this and say that Adam was Atom, as opposed to just the name Adam. He was explaining to us that he created the atom, or that the atom was created. Okay. The atom was created, he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, Atom. Okay. So that being said, when you look at an atom, we all know that everything in the world is created, and everything in the world is made of atoms. Everything is made of atoms. Atoms just vibrate at different speeds, which is, how you get water, how you get matter, gases and things like that. I ain't telling you guys nothing you don't know, but basically everything is made of atoms. It just depends on, how the atoms are put together as to how fast they vibrate, and how our eyes can see the vibrations or not see the vibrations. When things are invisible, they're still there. It's just that they may be vibrating at a speed, whereas that we're not able to see those things. So that's another story. It kind of relates to this, but it's another story. So everything is made of atoms. Okay. So when you well, you know what? I actually drew something that I would like for you guys to see. I actually drew this. I don't know if y'all can actually see that, but I drew an atom. Okay. And when you look at the atom, and I know it might be backwards to you guys, but when you look at an atom, I could have probably typed one up on the computer. But when you look at an atom, it looks like our solar system, which is further verification that everything was made of atoms. And I'm going somewhere with this. I'm tying it to the fact that the scripture says that when he called their name Adam, so I'm tying the fact that the atom, everyone was made of atoms, and the first creation was the atom. It looks like our solar system. You got the electrons, which is the female part of this system, and then you got the neutrons, and you got the protons, which is the male aspect. Okay. When you talk about in the scriptures, when it talks about, and I'm not going to pull it up. We all know when it talks about the rib being pulled from Adam to create Eve, all that's describing is the manipulation of the Adam when the woman was created. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to have to further explain that, I know. And I'm still trying to get my thoughts together on that a little bit. This is new for me. But when you talk about, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read, I'm going to go ahead and open up 1 Corinthians 15. Let me do that so I can kind of stay on track here with my thought process here. Let's see. 1 Corinthians 15, 45 through 49. I'm going to read that. Okay, 45 through 49. Let me read that real quick. Okay. 45. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. So kind of the way I'm taking that is, it's kind of like it's like a wonder as to how is it that when you talk about that first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual, how could that be? How could something natural be first? You would have to have the spiritual first, and then from the spiritual, you would derive the natural, and then, after that, going back to the spiritual. So really it's kind of saying that's kind of like a quick life cycle. Like we all start off spiritual and then we become natural when we're born. So we're actually a physical being. And then when we die, we go back to the spiritual, but that's saying howbeit, because in 45, it's saying the first man, Adam, was a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. So real quick, let me see if I can define quickening. Let's define quickening so we can get an understanding of exactly what the scripture is talking about. Quickening. Go. Okay, quickening. It says here, in pregnancy. So here we go. In pregnancy terms, quickening is the moment in pregnancy when the pregnant woman starts to feel or perceive fetal movements in the uterus. Quickening. So when you go back to the scripture, 1 Corinthians 15, 45 through 49, and so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul, and the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. I'll take that call later. The last Adam made a quickening spirit, a spirit of the moment in pregnancy when the woman starts to feel and perceive the fetal movements. So now we're talking about conception. Okay. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and after that which is spiritual. I'm going to keep going. The first man is of the earth, earthly. The second man is the Lord from heaven. So now it's talking about the second man, which it says here, the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. So now we were talking about the first Adam, and now we're talking about the last Adam, or the second Adam. The second man is the Lord from heaven. So the way I take that is that it's saying this scripture is kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of topsy-turvy a little bit, because it's questioning its own self in a sense. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. But it's telling you right here that the second man is the Lord from heaven. And then it describes the second Adam as a quickening spirit. Let me keep going though. I keep stopping here. And I'm going to read the whole thing again. And as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Okay. So basically it's just saying, when you talk about born in the image of the earthly, us being born, in the image of God, that we will also bear the image of the spiritual or of the heavenly. And that's talking about like when we die, like after we've been born and we're here, then we're going to bear that same image of the heavenly. I'm going to be able to go into that a little bit more, because it speaks to, like, when people ask you, okay, well, if the woman is God and all of that, then, what is heaven and all of that kind of stuff. And this kind of explains that a little bit. Okay. All right, let me keep going. Going back to my picture of my atom, when you talk about atoms, atoms are living. We're all made of atoms, and they're all just us being made of atoms. Atoms is, in a sense, life, so especially in man. It says, why has the spiritual changed to earthly, which is natural? The second man, woman, is the Lord from heaven. When we came out, we were spiritual and made of atoms. So anyway, that's just kind of explaining what I just said. Okay, so here in my notes, I put down here, it says nuclear energy can be produced naturally. So, okay, so now I'm kind of trying to move in the direction of what an atom is, like you talk about an atom bomb and how that bomb was ignited. We all know the power and strength of an atom bomb. When you talk about the atom, it produces nuclear energy, and that nuclear energy can be produced naturally, and I'm trying to tie this to creation, fellas, so bear with me. I'm trying to tie this to creation. When you talk about the atom and the pulling of the atom in Genesis, the pulling of the rib, the pulling